Welcome, everyone, to the weekly Slab episode 4. This episode is the 2021 year in review. Nate, I'm pumped to be here. We have a lot to cover today. I know you went through and grabbed a ton of different things that happened in 2021, which are super important because I think that this is a defining year for the sports card hobby going forward. There's a lot that's happened, so we got to get going here pretty soon, but welcome.
Thank you for having me. I cannot believe that we're already almost done with today's the 30th. We're almost done with 2021. Feels like it just started. We're already
Yeah.
on to 2022. So,
Yep. And this episode, we are recording the same day it's going out. So this is different than the other episodes that normally they release, on Thursdays, we record them on Tuesdays. So this is the most up-to-date information. And we are doing a way different episode than normal. Normally we got our news, we got our trending players, we got our debate going on. This is just going to be everything that happened throughout this year, including different sales, different trends, different show recaps. So we'll talk about some different card shows we went to, some different favorite things that we saw this year. And then we're also going to jump into 2022 predictions because I think it's important. I mean, the new year's upon us. And if anything shows you, we can't predict what happens, but we can at least hope to have some ideas on what might happen.
it's true.
All right. What do you want to jump into first here, Nate? What trend do you want to bring up first? Or I can bring up a trend first too, because we got a bunch of trends to go through.
We do have a bunch of trends. You choose one, I'll choose one.
All right. I'm going to go with the first trend. And I think I'm going to bring up the grading trend of this year because this was one of, I think, our most engaged subjects throughout the entire year. Whenever we put up a post on Instagram about a grading change, whether it was PSA suspending services, SGC doubling their price and dropping it quite soon after that, actually, or PSA reintroducing grading as of yesterday now at $100 per card with no limit on the capacity, which is crazy. We'll see how that plays out in 2022. Just whenever something came up about grading, I guarantee you there's like 100 or more comments. And it was just like every single time. So grading to me was a huge trend in 2021, how it changed, how it was before, how cards take forever to get back from some companies, how SGC, in my eyes, at the beginning of the year, I made this very clear through our different YouTube videos, Instagram posts. I was like, oh, why are they doubling their prices when they have a chance to take such a big marketplace or size of the market when PSA suspended? Then they switched it, dropped the prices. I think they've been doing outstanding recently. Of course, we're partners with them, but for a reason right there. And the most engaged post out of all of these was when PSA did like double their prices on their higher end services and then also suspend their lower services. That was quite the craziness right there back in March of 2021. But grading in general is going to have a big place in the market in 2022. I'm just intrigued to see what happens. It's unpredictable how PSA run, how they've been running their business. And to me, the biggest trend has been how consumers are grading and how they feel about grading and where they go, how long their cards are outstanding for as of today. Nate, on Thursday, the 30th, our cards that we submitted last year still are not back. We don't even know the grades yet. From PSA, we had probably like 200 plus combined there, and Nate does not want his back.
Shout out Kyle Lewis. Shout out Gavin Lux. 17 of my 51 cards that are going to pop from this one sub are Kyle Lewis and Gavin Lux.
Brutal.
Yeah, depressing.
All right, you go.
Well, one of my top trends is Formula One. So obviously we saw Topps Chrome blow up, Topps Chrome Sapphire blow up for Formula One. A little Netflix. It seemed like every Saturday or Sunday, I'd jump on Twitter and people were freaking out about either the what's the thing they do on Saturday?
They do placement? The qualifying round.
Qualifying, and then people would be freaking about the race every Sunday. So many people I never thought would watch Formula One, watching Formula One, including Aaron, though I guess you guys grew up watching a little NASCAR, so kind of up your alley. Yeah. You guys were into weird sports, weren't you? NASCAR, hockey?
We were.
Ever heard of baseball? Basketball? Yeesh. No. But anyways, I digress. Formula One was hot this year, one of the top trending cards sets of the year. And I found something interesting. Back on April 25th, you made a post about Lewis Hamilton. And one of the cards in there was a Topps Dynasty patch, auto number to 10 with a nice patch, PSA 9. And it sold for $17,500. Well, you fast forward to December 12th, a good 8 months later, and you had another post about Lewis Hamilton, another Topps Dynasty auto patch out of 10. and this one sold for $22,222. So a good like $5,000 raise. But this was a BGS 9 with no subgrades and a worse patch, which means I imagine that PSA 9 probably goes for at least like 24 grand, if not
Or
more.
more. Nate, I would say it's at least a few $1,000s more for a PSA 9 with a better patch. I mean, that PSA label does wonders on very important on card patch autos like that. Imagine, I know this is different grades PSA 10 versus BGS 9.5, but the Luca PSA 10 RPA goes for like 800 grand or just sold for like 800 grand. And then the 9.5 recently sold for like 300 to 350. Now that is like very different in price because of the difference from PSA 10 and BGS 9.5, but there's still a sizable gap between a PSA 9 and BGS 9 in a card like this.
And
BGS
especially a
9 is graded,
BGS 9 with no subgrades.
yeah, no subgrades too. And I would venture to say, and I think a lot of people would agree with me out there, that BGS grades thicker cards easier than PSA does too. I mean, I got it, dude. I got a PSA 6 in my NT Messi gold out of 10. Now, that was the time when they were just reintroducing the grading, the expensive grading. I think they
And they
put a
are
lot
very
of,
strict.
yeah, they were so strict. I mean, I remember I got a sub back where I knew like these cards would have 10 today. And they're getting eights, and it's just crazy. But yeah, I got a 6 on that thick card. It's tough to grade thick cards there.
Yeah. So that I thought that was very interesting because what are the there's a lot of times where you do not post the same card twice in a year. Especially something as rare as a Topps Dynasty card. And so this was a nice little like, hey, we can look back and see exactly what this costs and this costs. And clearly, Formula One. I don't know if it takes the cake for the most popular sport, but it's got to be pretty close
It's
for the for most popular sport for what word am I looking for? Increases in the market.
okay. You're saying like top trending because like clearly there's a difference between percent increase in overall like market value. And
Correct.
Formula One isn't even close to any of these others because there's so few cards and there's so few racers, or drivers, I should say. That sounded a little weird. But I will also point out that purple that sold back then for 1,400, that was raw, right?
1,300. Yep.
1,300. Recently, right before the last race where Lewis did lose, my dad had a BGS 9, which was numbered 1 out of 399. And that sold, I think, for like near 2,600 on eBay as a BGS 9.
Oh
Now,
wow.
these cards are very tough to grade. And actually, those cards did drop after that. After that initial post, Nate, that was like right when the stuff dropped. It was super hot. First Formula One Topps products ever, like pack pulled, Chrome, and Dynasty and stuff. Those cards did drop after that a bit. And then they rebounded heavy. The numbered stuff went insane. The base stuff didn't really bounce back at all. I mean, that just is the same with the market in general right now. But yeah, it's a crazy trend, and it's been very fun watching the races. And I know a lot of people getting to collect it. I know a lot of people that go really heavy in it. The big players are really big in Formula One.
Yeah. It makes sense. I don't think anybody's buying back of the pack. I don't even know their names. I've watched a little bit of Formula One Drive to Survive, but I can't remember their names.
Yeah, I mean, some people do scoop them up, who want to get in cheap, but it's hard to envision those guys gaining a ton of value unless they move to a new team and then have a better car. And
Like George Russell.
And then, yep, exactly. So he's on a terrible team, but goes to Mercedes and stuff goes like crazy. All right, next trend for me, I think it's just going to be I don't know how to best word this, the manufacturing and quality control trend of 2021. And the post I'm going to use to support this is going to be the 2020 Select Football Mike Vrabel situation. It's not just Mike Vrabel, it's literally the entire product plus all the parallels that came out this year for retail select, and also even hobby select had a lot of different ones too. This year we saw, unlike any other year, more cards printed, I'd say, over all the sports, all the different card types, brands, parallels, variations, everything. And it's a very easy thing to display when you have a coach card with die cuts and like 40 parallels of that card from 2020 Select Football. And they introduced Select Retail this year, and I think it really did water down the prestigious effect of Select in the market. However, I will still say it's a big brand. I mean, you can't sell all that retail if it's not a big brand. If you introduce your Luminance or your Illusions as retail, that stuff doesn't really get picked up that much. I mean, sure, people will buy it probably for a cheap rip or whatever it might be. But you really need a big brand to carry that much retail product, and it did. And there's just a lot out there. And we'll also add in, this is, I don't want to just like rip on Panini, because Topps had their own issues too with the F1 back edge chipping, the Topps Chrome's Champions League and Bundesliga back edge chipping. But all the manufacturers, or at least between Panini and Topps this year, I felt this was one of the worst quality control years of all time. I've been opening packs since 2008 regularly, and I've never seen a year that just has so many issues with different products at such high prices. That's the other thing too. Nate, you go to Target, you open a $3 pack, one of your cards has some ding corners or maybe some surface blemishes that are like pretty prominent, and it's like, spend $3.
Yeah.
You buy a $450 box and all of the cards that are numbered have chips on the back. How does it make you feel? You know, like, and the other thing too is, it's like, they can't do anything about it. They released the product. It's not like they're going to recall the product or like refund you your money, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, the quality control is so poor between Topps and Panini, because I think of how much they're trying to print and get out the door. And it's not just damaging too. I mean, you saw cards that had wrong patches with wrong players. Now it's happened in the past too. Wrong autographs on the wrong players. A Ronaldo card that has a Chicharito auto on it. Like, imagine pulling a Ronaldo. Supposedly it's supposed to be auto, but it comes with the guy who's playing the MLS's auto. I'm not saying, I mean, I know he plays for Mexico and stuff, but that's just not the same thing.
Yeah.
And I will say Panini did make it good, and they did replace the card. They put the Ronaldo auto on it. I think that's how the story ended, but still, quality control is a big trend for me this year, and I really hope that maybe in this upcoming year we see something change.
I don't know how other people went about quality control, but for me, I bought a box of 2020 Bowman base or 2021 Bowman baseball, no auto. Tried a second box, 2021 Bowman, auto was scratched as can be.
Yeah.
From there, I'm done with 2021 Bowman. I will never touch it again. I will never buy another pack, no matter who's in it, and I would never suggest we have it for breaks or buy into a break or anything like that. So I don't know how other people react to poor stuff like that, but if we all just stopped buying it, I think they'd get the message pretty quick.
Can you let me go back to back here and take
Yeah.
a second one? Because one of my other trends I put in here, which I actually don't know if it's in the trends category on our little sheet here, but it was Prism first off the line 2020. This was the first Prism product that dropped in nearly a year and a half because of COVID pushing back release dates. They pushed it very far back, almost to the end of the season of the NBA season, or at least the regular season for 2020 Prism first off the line. And they launched this, I want to say it was like $4,500 a box at the starting bid for the Dutch auction. Now, if I can find it in the note sheet here, I'd be able to tell you exactly what it started at. Oh, there it is. It's in the tough scene section. That's why. Yeah, it's starting bid of $4,500 on the Dutch auction with the floor of $2,000. This was the first time I've ever seen a product hit the floor, a premium product hit the floor, I should say, like Prism. And it did. It hit the $2,000 floor. And that, in my mind, was a big deal. Nate just said, what do you say about Bowman? You said we shouldn't buy it or whatever, and maybe it changes how they go about the business, whatever. But that was a huge statement, I think, for 2020 Prism first off the line to hit the floor. And I think it really showed Panini, like, hey, we can't just go out there and demand any price we want. Now, $2,000 was still a lot, and they did start to sell for below that on eBay after that. I know, because we bought some boxes. And I probably fell into the trap just like others about the excitement of the first Prism set for multiple years, and just want to make sure we could get our hands on some of it. And it did pay higher than 2,000 on a few of the boxes, and lost some money through it. But you live and learn. And I'd say this was the biggest time I've seen collectors and buyers and breakers, whoever, really just go like, hey, Panini, we're not paying those ridiculous prices, because used to buy Prism at first off the line for 120 retail. But obviously we can't have that. But still, 2,000 for the most produced Prism set ever. That's a lot.
My last trend for 2021, I figured I'd let you cover the
big boy.
Yeah. My last trend is people getting smart. So for a while there, in a lot of 2020, people came into the hobby. The easiest thing to understand was base cards and PSA 10s. And so you saw base PSA 10s spike, spike, spike. And if you look, I grabbed a Topps Chrome LeBron Prism Silver Patrick Mahomes PSA 10, PSA 10 for LeBron 2 rookies, and then Mike Trout 2011 Topps Update PSA 10. And you'll notice that all of these guys spiked around like February and then dropped way off. And from January 1st through the 28th, I think, when I got these prices, LeBron has dropped 37%. Patrick Mahomes has dropped 15.5%. And Trout actually is up just under a percentage point. But from his high, he is down. And I just think that's people becoming smarter, being like, I'm going to sell that on my base and buy numbered, which I agree with completely. I think numbered is the way to go. Aaron thinks numbered is the way to go. And if you're stuck on base, maybe it's just now is the time to sell, especially with people's orders of like 10 Kyle Lewis's coming back and 7 Gavin Lux's. Get out of those base cards while you can and buy something that has a little oomph to it.
Yeah, and the best thing to keep in mind, and this goes back to our 6-month forecast that we did in like March, which was supposed to lead up to the National. Maybe we did in February too. We actually said the exact same things here. Numbered, way to go. Short print case hits, like, way to go. But in reality, if you did have base cards at that moment, I wasn't trying to like, there's something about where you want someone to make sure that they're doing it because they believe in it versus just like hearing us just talk about it because it's what we believe in. So I was like, hey, like, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take my word, whatever, but just make sure you believe in it. If you're doing it, I said, now is probably the time to sell those cards and move into something else, even if you're losing money on them at the moment, because $500 in something that has a chance to go up in value is always better than $500 in something that's just going to keep decreasing in value. There's just no way around it. I've cut losses more than I can say on many different things. Have lost a lot of money on many different things, but most of the time I'd say that whatever I went and bought right after that, because I learned something with the card I lost money on, has made more money than what I lost in the previous card.
Yeah, cutting losses is never fun. It feels like you're just throwing away money, but if you have a better chance of taking $500, even if you spent $750 on it and actually making money, worth it.
I would even go out there and say $2,000. If you bought, let's just say something like an Anthony Davis Prism PSA 10 for $2,000, and this is a perfect time to bring this up. I just posted this like right now on Instagram about the Davis that dropped 82% in 2021 from like $2,350 to $434. Imagine selling that Davis for $434, buying a card, maybe a raw card if you can find one in good condition. Obviously, it's always a risk, but you never know, of a younger player, a serial number, it has a chance to go up in value, and you hit even a 9 or 10 on that, hold it for 6 months to a year, you might be selling for $2,000 if you pick the right player.
True.
You make up all that money right there.
Yep.
And I don't see that Anthony Davis going back to $2,000. So
that's base card. No base card. Unless you are the cream of the crop.
And if it's like pre-2012, 2013, Giannis and before probably I'd say is your best chance at something like that.
Unless we're talking Patrick Mahomes, apparently.
Yeah, but keep in mind that's a very tough to grade card too.
That's true.
And Mahomes is Mahomes. So I've got a lot of different trends out here. Yeah, and it's the whole silver or not silver thing. I don't know. So I got some other trends in here, and I think that the best one to bring up is, we had a YouTube live show, I should say this right now, on Monday, where he covered all the different growing categories in sports cards in 2021 and put data behind it. I recommend going and listening to that if after this episode, of course, if you want to hear about more trends in the marketplace, because we did cover a lot, but we don't want to spend too much time today on the actual data trends. 2 more things to bring up because, Marvel PMGs, we broke that down heavily in the Monday live, so we'll keep that over there. 2 things is that these are both kind of newsworthy and not really like a sports card trend. The first one is going to be the 2 biggest cards that are produced in 2020, either 2019, 2020 National Treasures, but that was released in 2020, or that was released in 2020, and then also 2020 Bowman. Both the 2 biggest one-of-ones out of those products. I would also argue Nate Wood too. Bobby Wood Jr. probably going to be a bigger card than Jason Dominguez in the future, but keep in mind people paying insane prices for that name. Jason Dominguez, Superfractor Auto 1-of-1, and Zion Williamson, Logo Man 1-of-1 patch auto were both pulled within like a 1-month span. Dominguez as soon as a few days ago on Monday. And we did talk about in the live stream because someone brought it up in there, but those 2 cards being pulled in 2021, And both of them, Zion rumored to sell for over $1 million, which I'm sure it did if it was sold. And the Jason Dominguez, now it's a PSA 10. We can guess some price all day. I'm venturing to say this is going to sell over 150 grand. You never know if you get 3 bidders that really want this card, what happens to it too.
I feel like there's no way, knowing what I know about people, that it goes under 200.
I would venture to say the same. I think it's actually going to sell over 300, but sometimes you just want to be on the safe side. So
I think people there's there's going to be a couple guys that A are Yankee fans, B know Jason Dominguez for being the Martian and don't care about his stats last year and just look at it like the gamble of 250 grand is worth the $1 million payoff potentially later, or the loss of 200 grand.
not to mention that there's a lot of very rich people out there.
There are. And imagine you get the chance to own the Jason Dominguez, and if he becomes anything major with the Yankees, you're going to look back and say 250 grand was nothing.
Right. I agree on that. So those 2 cards pulled in 2021, I think, prove more than anything that the prospect market is very much still a thing. We're comparing on Monday Joe Burrow NTRPAs to imagine LeBron PSA 10 refractor rookies number out of 300. Like, to even compare that shows more than ever that people are still betting on the next big thing, no matter what it is. And of course, it's scaled down from there. People still bet on guys like Cam Reddish, myself included, and did well on a sale. But even as much as his silver PSA 10s going up in price recently, now that he was starting with some of the COVID issues. So people still love to do their prospecting. It really doesn't matter that base cards might be dead. They'll find the next thing to buy.
Yep.
All right, last trend, which is more a news thing, and we can't go without saying this in this episode. One of the biggest events of the year was Fanatics taking over the licensing rights to the NFL, MLB, and NBA come a variant amount of years, 2023 to 2025, depending on the sport, I believe. And that's a huge deal. Like, it's such a big deal. Like, to think if they don't actually acquire Topps or their brands, that there'd be no more Topps rookie cards or no more Bowman Chrome autos with logos on it. Who knows what Topps is able to pursue if they can strike some sort of other deal. But I think that they were also exclusive MLBPA deals too. So they're not getting to produce any players on there.
Yeah, just retired players.
Yeah, I
Get
guess.
ready for a lot of Derek Jeter cards and suits.
Yeah, so it's Miami Marlins whenever he is president of operations. That'd be funny. But there's not much to go off of right now. There's been rumblings of what Fanatics wants to do between Josh Luber, putting out his big essay and appearing on some podcasts and this and that. Michael Rubin, of course, is the owner of Fanatics and was big in pursuing that deal. But just know that change is coming. How? There's just so many guesses we can put forth, but it's not worth speculating on too much until we know, because who knows when this stuff starts to happen. All I know is that things will change, probably in a big way, if this does come to fruition as much as people are thinking, and there's gonna be a lot of centralization of sports consumer activities, sports card consumer activities, but also sports consumer activities, I'm sure too. Any thoughts, Nate?
Not really. I'm kind of in a wait and see.
Yeah.
I don't really have any answers until it happens.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we point out, because that will be some of the biggest, I'd say, things to come in 2022. 2022. It's a lot of twos. And 2023 will be this Fanatics. How is it going to change the market? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Sometimes change is a good thing. We'll just have to see. I don't want to make any swooping statements until we know more.
All right. So next section, record sales. You want to dive into some record sales there, Aaron?
Yes, sir. There's some huge ones this year.
Yes, actually the hugest.
The hugest.
Not just huge. The biggest sales ever happened in 2021 for the sports card market. Starting out, we had a Luka Doncic in February 28th specifically. Shout out my sister and my grandpa, both their birthdays. Sold NTRPA Logo Man 101, $4,600,000.
That's a lot. It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for a guy that hasn't really done anything. Now, people are going to be upset because they're going to say, but you just chose Luka over Kobe Bryant. But I was choosing a first-year card over a 16th-year card, not Luka over Kobe. And I would never spend – if I had the problem of getting to spend $4,600,000, you better believe I wouldn't spend it on Luka. And then we had a Wayne Gretzky, PSA 10 of the O-Pee-Chee Wayne Gretzky, sell for $3,750,000 on May 27th. That seems like an absurd sale. I got to
That's a
imagine
lot.
there's at least a few PSA 10s out there.
There's two.
Oh,
There's two.
not as absurd.
No, it's a super rare card.
Not as absurd. We had Mickey Mantle, actually our first one of the year, our first big sale and our record-setting sale. January 14th, this card sold for his Mickey Mantle. What was the grade on it? PSA 9?
9.
PSA 9 sold for $5,200,000, which was a record at the time, but it has been matched by a LeBron Exquisite BGS 9 that sold for $5,200,000 on April 26th.
That was the RPA of 23 also, the one that is numbered out of his jersey number. Recently had the jersey number 23 out of 99 sell to Shine 150 on Instagram, but that was like $2.5 million for the jersey number RPA. I think it was like a BGS 8.5 or BGS 9. A lot of people said that was one of the biggest high-end steals of the year, which could be true given it's the only one that's 23 out of 99. I will point out, Nate, you did forget a big one on this. I know you have more to go over, but you forgot the biggest.
The biggest one?
Yeah.
What, Patrick Mahomes?
No. Honus Wagner, the SGC3 that sold for 6.6 million.
You're right. I did miss that. Oops. Oops. Yes, Honus Wagner. Okay, the record-setting card. Missed it completely. How much? 6.6?
Yeah, and I'm scrolling back right now, but I'm like 99. It was for sure in the 6 range. I think it was 6.6, but you can keep covering other sales, and then I'm going to get the exact number.
So we had a Patrick Mahomes NT logo shield BGS 8.5 that sold on July 28th for $4,300,000. So a ton of $3, $4, $5 million cards, even $6 million cards. As for the steal for the multiple million, $2.5 million, I do question how many people are really out there spending multiple millions on cards. You think there's more than like 5 to 10 people? And if so, is it really a steal if somebody's just like, I don't want to buy that right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about who's bidding on what day, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have a handful of people and half of them don't show up, you don't get that record setter. Also, that Honus Wagner did sell for 6.6.
6.6, goodness gracious. A couple other things I wanted to point out. Obviously, the Spider-Man that sold for $72,000 from our buddy Dave. Big record setter for Marvel cards. We also had Jay-Z Signs of Stardom BGS 9 that sold for $105,000 on March 20th. Just kind of an interesting sale. Maybe not a record setter, but you're getting into non-sports cards, but having major prices. I mean, $72,000 for a Marvel card and $105,000 for Jay-Z. Autographed, yes, but still insane. And then one last thing, definitely not a record.
That was a Superfractor 1 of 1, right?
Yes. Sorry, I should probably mention those. And then one last thing I wanted to mention, just because I think it's kind of funny nowadays. Not a record setter by any means, but we had a post about Justin Herbert and his contenders 101 Super Bowl ticket 101 BGS 9 selling for $157,000. Or and this post was on March 20th. I don't know when the sale dates were. Or
very close to then.
Optic Superfractor Auto number 1, but PSA 7 sold for $20,000. So a PSA 7 to a BGS 9, I would argue that I'd rather have the Optic than the contenders, but I know people in football love their contenders. But the fact that you could get a Justin Herbert card at any point, a Superfractor at any point for $20,000 after the year he's had, I got to imagine that card is more expensive now.
For the Panini purists out there, they're going to say, Nate, that's gold vinyl.
Yeah, fair. And they're also going to say that idiot chose an Optic over contenders.
I mean, that's a pretty big price difference though, too.
Yeah, it's 8 times. The
I remember
contenders went
people
8 times as much.
yeah, people were going pretty crazy over that one when we posted that one up.
I if I had $20,000 to spend, I would have bought that PSA 7 all day long and then cracked it and resent it in because maybe that was when PSA was really great and tough.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know, I guess, right? With how subjective grading is at times.
Mhm.
Is that what we got for our big sales?
That's all we got for big sales.
They were big. They're big. That I think that it was something like 20 of the top 25 selling cards of all time occurred in 2021. So it was
Insane.
I don't quote me on the exact number, but something around that. Something crazy big.
So the low end market might be dying off, the base PSA 9, PSA 10 craze, but high end going strong still.
Going big, going strong. Not only was high end going big and going strong in 2021, card shows were going big and going strong in 2021 as stuff started to reopen. Many card shows sprung onto the scene. I remember for the first time at the end of 2020, there was like a Dallas show that occurred in November where people were actually traveling to go to it. But really in 2021 is when the card show craze came about. And I would venture to say that the card show craze also led to a lot of the the very common cards dropping, in value via eBay or even at the card shows themselves. Because when you go to a show and you see 100 different John Morant Prism based PSA 9s or 10s, what's going to make you want to even buy that at all?
Correct.
Like nothing other than maybe if one was like half the price of the other.
Yeah. It was actually super eye opening. You see them, especially us when we do our links every day for our email newsletters. You see these cards, but you don't really think about it because you just see it, and you don't really see it in person. So it's almost like it doesn't exist. And then you go to a show, and every single person, Trey Young Prism PSA 10, Luka Doncic Prism PSA 10, Lamar Jackson Prism PSA 10 or 9, and you're like, oh, I mean, if everyone has these, why would you want it?
I mean, I totally agree with that. I can't tell you the amount of times I saw Zion's and Jaws and Luca's and Trey's, and even in baseball, Nate, wasn't there a couple booths that had just like hundreds of,
Juan
Funko
Soto's and
based?
Ronald Acuña's and
Yeah.
Tatises and yeah.
So I would say like the combination of that from people actually going to the shows, and then also the fact that people are spending less money on eBay, which was at the time, the be all end all for pricing. Of course, now you've got PWCC's marketplace, you got cards selling through gold, and you got all these different places that cards are selling now. So it's a little bit more diverse the sales data, but yeah, that definitely led to the common market, the common cards dropping in value, and on top of that, the vast amount of PSA cards that were coming back graded that people sent out. And then when they have that big bill like Nate's going to have, or already had for their cards at PSA, you're ready to just fire sale them. You're ready to get that money back. Cut your losses like we talked about. Nate, I'm sure you're going to do that. Sell those somewhere or another.
Well, actually, you know what? I'm kind of torn. I feel like some of them are so stinking cheap. Maybe I just wait till the season and see if Kyle Lewis does good.
Yeah, I mean, even just waiting until some of the prices might go up with the season rolling around in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, so card shows came, and the first one that we actually got to go to, I went to with SlabStox Sam, was in February 2021. We went to the courtside card show number 3. We help promote that event with Anthony, great guy down in Florida. Summertime Cards on Instagram if you're not aware of who Anthony is, and that show was fun. I mean, that was the first show I was able to go to since all the shows shut down, and we'll tell you that show was packed. There's a lot of people ready to get to shows. Of course, at that point, vaccines weren't even out for the majority of people yet, and that was an interesting scenario there. It's an interesting feeling going to a place with all those people. I'd say the place I went with a lot of people for the first time since COVID started,
Mm-hmm.
and card shows quickly started to pop up everywhere after that. You had the Dallas shows, which are kind of like the first on the scene because of, I'm sure, the lesser restrictions in places like Texas at that time. And then from there, Nate, how many different regional shows popped up?
Oh,
A
I,
ton.
I I felt like I was hearing about a different regional show from somebody all the time. Shows in Boston, shows in Washington, shows in Wisconsin.
Yep.
Uh, even like, and those are like major shows. shows in the Staples Center or whatever, or crypto center. Uh, and now you get or in Madison Square Garden, and now you're getting like, hey, we've got this little show in this bowling alley, and those always were around, but now it's like more often where there's always like in Milwaukee, there's a show every single month. That never used to happen, I don't think. So pretty cool to
That
see.
would happen. There's gonna Gonzaga show like every month in Milwaukee,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm talking more so like those big ones like the Boston's that pop up that are getting promoted in social media, Vegas, all these different ones like that. That never used to happen. I can tell you that much.
And now I wonder if there's too many.
We've had that discussion before too. Very possible. Very possible. So went to Miami twice. Went to also the courtside card show number 4. That was in May. Nate joined myself at that one with Vincent. That you've seen some of our content recently, and then also Sam was there too. And of course, at all of these, my dad was traveling with myself, recording all these. That was fun. That was fun to get back out there as a full team. That was the first time really since the national, I think, right, Nate? In
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, it'd been a year and a half.
Yeah.
Year and a
Yeah.
half since we'd last been anywhere.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And then from there we also went to Dallas. I went in March for my first Dallas show, and then we went as a team in May. Nate, what was the vibe like for you at Dallas versus like a Miami?
Well, Miami was the cards were out of my price range, mostly. So, like, for me, Miami it was nice. It was a nice area. It was cool to be in Miami. It was cool to stay in downtown Miami and see some of the cars that would drive past and stuff that you don't get to see in Wisconsin. But for the most part, uh, I wasn't, not that didn't want to spend money. I didn't even have an option to spend money most of the time. Whether it be overpriced cards or, that I could spend
Personal
on, or
finances.
just cards that are just way too expensive. So Dallas was a nice breath of fresh air because I found plenty of cards, including my boy Noel V. Marte, for good deals. So Dallas for me was a bit more exciting, though the area in Miami was significantly better.
Oh yeah, Dallas had bigger show, lots of selection, but you don't go anywhere other than that hotel, and the convention center is attached to the hotel. Miami was a much better trip, but Dallas did a lot more deals came out of. Did some selling in Miami, but at Dallas, I remember that May show was when I did trade my Ronaldo, which was the biggest trade I've ever done. And from there, I ended up trading some of those Mbappes, regrading some of them, and it went pretty well. So that was good to see. But then that led us into the Dells, which in May I did 3 shows in May. Nate, did you? No, Nate did
Yep,
2. You did
I
all
did
those
all
too.
three.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. I remember we had back-to-back weekends. I
May was
think of
brutal.
yeah, it was like Miami and then a weekend off, and then it was Dallas and the Dells back-to-back weekends, and we set up at the Dells, and I remember at the end of the Dells, that first Dells show in May was very fun. We saw a lot of people there. I got to do some sales, some trades, but that was like the moment of realization, like, whoa, we can't do this all the time.
It's
I
I
was
I give major props to the people that show up to all of the shows. I don't know how you do it. I like being home. I'm a homebody, and not being home is like the worst thing in the world.
I I wouldn't say it's the worst thing in the world for myself. All I know is I was tired. I was dead by the end of that Dallas show. I was like, "Holy cow! I don't know how many times I can do this." It was fun though, and it was worth it. And the guys are great that set that one up. And then that took us all the way to the national. Though we did take the pretty much the summer off from doing the other shows, June and July. I suppose in reality it was just June because the end of
Yeah.
July comes, and July was all prep for the national, the biggest event of the year for sports card collectors. It's just you can't compare to it. No matter how many cool destinations you can go to, which there are cool ones out there like Miami and Tampa. Tampa was unreal. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but there's nothing that compares to the national amount of people, the vibe, the amount of days, what goes on there, the deals, everything. And for myself specifically, or even I would say like going to Chicago, Nate, there's a feeling about going there for the national.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. And
Just exciting.
you're gonna eat deep dish pizza.
Mhm.
You're gonna see a lot of friends. Shout out to all the people we met there and talked to. I mean, there's so many people that I just can't name them all, but notably, I mean, going back to 2019, I relate the national a lot to like meeting up with Lou, from 137 and VaynerMedia. That's just a fun time for us, being able to do that because we can't do that all the time. And this year had a whole different meaning though for the national than any other year for myself. That was about the 6th national I've done, the 2nd setting up at. But this year had a whole different meaning because of the Camp Kesem charity night. So, take it back to the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, when our audience, started donating a little bit of money to a charity of my choice with Camp Kesem. A lot of you have heard the story. Buddy's involved in college, and it helps out kids whose parents have or had cancer, sends them to camp for free for a week with college counselors, and it's a really big deal for the kids. And I want to, help out through SlabStox, and people want to help out through SlabStox, which was insane, which is actually what got me to want to do it even more. And raised $1,000 to the first part of like January of 2021. Then we're like, hey, let's do a night at the National. Let's host a charity night. And it just exploded in July. From July 1, when I announced, the 6 different individuals or companies that got involved. Shout out to the first 6, which was PWCC. It was Loop. It was StockX. It was Jamil at the Melee Pop Shop, Ryan Card Collector 2, and Patrick Ryan. Those were the first 6 that stepped up to help out. That ended up turning into 60 plus sponsors, $100,000 plus in product donated. Shine 150 and Woot Woot 72 or 72 Woot Woot 72. Nick, they combined to send a Giannis Prism Green rookie PSA 10 that sold for 17 grand around there. Like, that's just insane. Damian Oliveira, who's got the massive Messi collection, sent in a 5-figure Messi. That see that type of stuff like coming and actually hit my hands, knowing I never like spent a dime to actually hold on to that, but I know it's going to a great cause is insane. It's just wild. And it really shows what the power of the sports card community can do. Because by the end of that national trip, it was $125,000 donated to Camp Kesem. That's just an incredible amount of money that came about in 1 month because of all of you guys. And not only the people that donated, but the people that spent the money, because with getting stuff donated, all that stuff had to be sold, right? Like, there's no way if we took that all in but had 0 buyers, that's no money for Kesem. That's just a bunch of sports cards that to most of the world mean nothing, but to all of us, it means a lot, obviously. And to convert all those cards into all that cash for the kids was just as something I've never experienced before, and we'll never get that first time, feeling again. But I will say it really did light the fire in general. I think with not just us, but with many out there, to open the eyes like, hey, this is more than just cards and the people that are in cards. This can go beyond cards. A lot of those kids might have touched cards in their lives at that point. I mean, it's hard to be a kid and not touch a baseball card at one time or another, but you don't really understand as a kid, or even maybe the families too, like what these things can do outside of just ripping some packs as a kid. And clearly it can do a lot. And, coming with an idea and then executing it was a whole different story. That was about the most stressful month of my life, between lining all that up. And, I had so much help from my parents and our team in total, and everyone else who wanted to help promote it anyways. And it was quite the event and quite the eye-opening experience. And I'll never forget it for sure. It's the most memorable thing, I think, of my life, of the entire year, for sure.
Yeah, that was just the whole night, being online, people supporting, bidding from all over, PWCC guys showing up, good buddies of ours showing up, people we'd never met before still showing up. Meant a lot,
Yeah.
and a ton of kids get to go to camp. Probably next year, though. I think they canceled the camp this year.
So the camp, this was the 2nd year in a row. They just hosted some virtual events for the kids, but yep, all of it's going to go to sending the kids to camp next year, which is fun because I know obviously as people hear me say going to help kids go to camp for free. A lot of it is just pictures you might have seen that poster or stuff you see online, and it'll be a whole different experience because I am going to try. I will be going to the camp in 2022, and I want to see how I can help share their story through all the money that you all helped us raise for the kids. So I think it's gonna be a whole different ballgame once people can actually see where that money goes versus just believing, which is incredible in its own right. I mean, I would hop on the phone with people I knew or people I didn't even know. There's even people I didn't even know before this,
There were people you'd never talked to in your entire life sending
I've never talked to
$10,000 worth of product.
Jim from Midwest Cards, amazing guy, and his team's awesome. I've never even talked to him or heard of them. And the guy emails me and sends us 10 grand worth of product. Kyle and Kevin from ATL Cards sends us 7 grand in product. Never even knew who they were before that. Um, I think the biggest thing is that when you get something like cards, kids, and then also cancer, which impacts a ton of people around the world and America, and not just because they might have it, but someone that they knew had it or someone their parents had, like if y'all haven't seen it, go back and watch a video we posted that recap that night. People are interviewed talking about why they were actually there. And it's just like the perfect merge of everything combined that people love and want to help out with. And it's incredible. And I hope that 2022 brings the same fortunes for Kesem and for the charity work that we can hopefully execute on. I know that next year's at Atlantic City. I know it's gonna be a completely different ball game. I know that we're not going to execute it the same way. We've learned a lot this year. We're going to do something big. It's just not going to be the same way. But we hope that so much money can be raised again. But if it's not 125 grand, it's not. And I'm so grateful that it was at that moment. And I hope that we can do it again and maybe even do it bigger. But we'll just have to see, what 2022 brings. But just because I'm talking about it right now, I'll also say we did do another, kind of like end of the year wrap up for Kesem. Thanks so much to SGC and whatnot. I mean, without them, that would have been impossible and all the people buying and whatnot. But we did another $12,000 in one night in like an hour and a half. And I raised the money within like a week to get it to go to Tampa, Florida at Jamila's Collectors Con and go buy SGC slabs and raw cards for the kids and then sell them on whatnot and get the fees waived and everything. We had a $7,000 card budget, but that $7,000 card budget plus $2,400 in free grading through SGC turned into 12 grand. I mean, it speaks a little bit to the people at the show who sold me cards on deals. Shout out to everyone at the show who gave me a good deal on this stuff for the kids. Shout out to SGC for throwing in the free grading, and shout out to all the people spending money for the kids. I mean, that ended up, I think, putting our year at, I have it here in the slideshow. I think it put the year at $139,000, $138,940 for Cam Kesem at the end of the year now. And that's actually probably right over that 139,000 because I still need to donate like $80 from that night that came in afterwards. So that's just insane. Insane.
I think that's a good segue into the Tampa show you went to.
That is Tampa show, which we did just skip over a couple, and we'll cover those very briefly. Tampa show is great. I've never been to Tampa for a show. Jamil put on an amazing show. I mean, Jamil, I know he's not in the
What was the name of the show?
Anymore. It's the Collectors Con in Tampa, Florida, and they did one earlier in the year that I wasn't able to go to. I think it's in June, and then we went to the one in or I went to the one in December with my dad. And the area was beautiful, man. It's right next to the Tampa Bay Lightning Arena. It's right on like the bay. It was insane. Super nice. I'd recommend going if you want to make some sort of like family Florida outing. If you want to go to the next one, I don't know when it is, but that was very fun and broke a 2008 Topps Chrome box there too with whatnot. That was awesome. That's one of my favorite products ever. And then the other shows that occurred was my dad and I went to Vegas, which was really cool going to Vegas for the first time. Not only for the show, which I got some cool soccer cards, but also for the atmosphere. I've never been down there. I could not spend more than a night there or 2 nights there. Probably it's just crazy. I just can't do that. But it was very fun. The one night we did have going to the casinos, and then also we went to the Chicago Sports Spectacular twice. The first one was rescheduled from June because it got canceled for COVID, and then they wanted to reschedule it, so they put in September after the National. But it's like a hybrid show and there's not that many vendors there. It was so tiny, but I'll tell you this. The tiny show paid off because I hit some insane cards there that ended up getting graded. A Mason Greenwood raw that my dad's like, hey, look at this Color Blast. Got it for like $650, sold for like a $2,500 as a PSA 10. There were some really good deals there. And Nate didn't come to that when he came to the one in November, which is not as great. Nate, you can briefly speak on that.
Not trying to be a negative Nelly, but the amount of cards they had compared to memorabilia and other stuff had to have been like 40, 60 cards to other stuff. Yeah. Maybe 50-50. I don't know. And then from there, the amount of vintage cards they had compared to new cards was drastic. And then from there, the amount of baseball they had to other sports was even more minuscule. So as a baseball guy, my least favorite show by far was the Chicago Sports Spectacular. There was almost no baseball. And what there was um, it would be like a $20 card price for $35, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Which it was a tough scene, but lest I make it sound too disappointing, the National was also in Chicago in the same building, and that was the greatest show of the year. So you win some, you lose some, you know?
I agree. I agree. It's hard to be 100% with amazing shows, right? Like not everything's gonna be amazing.
It's
They're
true.
fun. They're fun, but sometimes it's just not like the others. Speaking of tough scenes, and I hesitate to even bring this up to end our episode on tough scenes of the year. How about this? We'll do a couple tough scenes, then we'll go into the best
Predictions?
moment of the year, and then some of our favorite posts of the year.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do let's just pick like two of this. We got a bunch here. I'll do one first, and you pick one. How about that?
Okay.
My tough scene of the year has got to be the Hoops Lamella Ball base rookies launching at like $100 to $150 when the first basketball product came out that had LaMelo in a Hornets jersey. Hoops base rookie cards selling for 100 to 150 raw. I think that they're like $5 now. It's got to be. It has to be one of the worst purchases of the year. That's not like a multi-$1,000 card. It just has to be. And I just can't believe that people are spending that type of money on that stuff when it came out. I had to throw up the Pikachu, just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this meme. It was something else. And I don't have to rag on it. But all I'll say is if you are new here to either the SlabStox show or to the sports card market, it's never the best time to buy cards when the product first releases. If you have to get a 1 of 1, I understand, or an out of 5. If you're buying the non-number based stuff when a product releases, never do that, please. Just never do it.
Mm-mm. A bad choice.
Oh yeah.
Bad choice. My first tough scene is a couple football guys here. Sam Darnold, we had a Prism Purple Power PSA 10 that sold for $1,100, presumably when he got traded to the Panthers. And then also Tim Tebow Topps Chrome X Fractor that sold for $55. Now, neither of those in the grand scheme of things are so expensive where it's like, what the heck? But this is based off of news. You're like, oh, Sam Darnold going to the Panthers, and oh, Tim Tebow getting a chance to be a tight end on the Jaguars. Well, we know exactly how those things worked out. Not well. People lost money, and it just goes to show you that, especially in the NFL market, sometimes it's worth just sticking to the cream of the crop. Maybe you don't end up making huge amounts of money, but you also aren't going to lose drastic amounts of money by betting that Sam Darnold, who was atrocious for years, was only atrocious because he was on the Jets. Or
Yeah,
that Tim Tebow is going to stick as a tight end after not playing in football for years and years and years. Especially now that we know what happened with the Urban Meyer situation in Jacksonville.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Not good. People like to risk their money big time in football, and 55 is significantly less than 1,100. But it's like it's insane. It's insane what people do with their money. Some of this stuff.
I know I said just a few, but I can't not bring up Justin Fields Gold Standard Auto sticker out of 5 selling for $3,050. I just
That's
can't.
fair.
I just can't not bring it up because we still have not had Prism, Select, Optic, Contenders, National Treasures, Immaculate. Any of these cool products are really good investment products release. And you got a sticker auto of Gold Standard out of Justin Fields before the season even starts after a preseason game sale for $3,050. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, or Mike White. Mike White has one good game. Dak Prescott's clearly going to come back and be the starter forever, and people are spending astronomical amounts of money on Mike White. Like, what?
Nate, joke's on you because he came in and replaced Zach Wilson when Zach Wilson got hurt.
Oh, that's right. I'm looking at the Cowboys.
And you're
All
thinking
right.
of Cooper
All
Rush,
right.
who had one good game.
That's fair. Looking at the Cowboys jersey, completely forgetting where he played. The Jets. He did have a good. He had more than one good game with the Jets, right?
One good game.
Just one?
Yep, because I think he had one good game. He then got injured. Someone else stepped in and played quarterback. He came back for one more game before Zach Wilson came back, and then he had a really bad game.
Huh. Well, what are you gonna do?
But I don't blame you, Nate, because Cooper Rush was a similar situation. Came in and beat the Vikings. Probably
Cooper
only
Rush.
game
I
he'll ever
forgot about
start
Cooper
again.
Rush. Well, anyways, backup QBs. if they have a first round draft pick ahead of them or a guy that's entrenched in a big time contract, probably don't buy him. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. We've seen it countless times again. Do you remember Mason Rudolph, Kyle Allen, any of those guys?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's good if you're buying really, really early and being like, man, he gets one good game, I'm golden. But don't be the person buying after he had his one good game.
No. Nope. All right, what's your last one here? I know you wanted to bring up one more.
My last one is Luis Robert. We had a gold auto, if you can believe that, Bowman Chrome gold auto PSA 9. After he got injured, sell for $3,650. This is a tough scene because talk about an overreaction. Maybe they put it up for auction before he got injured, then he gets injured, and then it sells for low. But if you've got somebody as premium talent as Luis Robert, somebody like that, last thing you want to do is sell when they're injured or when they're playing poorly, because they're going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back. They're going to have a hot week or 2 weeks or a month somewhere in that season where the prices will bounce back. Can you imagine being able to buy a gold Bowman Chrome auto of Luis Robert for $3,650?
I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be the person buying it, but I know that that's a good card, obviously, and a player that can bounce back heavy this year. And he already did bounce back at the end of last year, right?
Yeah. He was amazing at the end of last year. Now,
Yeah.
walk rates here nor there, but everything else was insane. Exit velocities, getting to power. The dude is really, 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 really good. And this has the potential, like you're selling for $3,650, which seems really low when you're comparing it to the Justin Fields. But this
True.
is the type of card that has the potential to hit like 20 grand within like 2 years.
Yeah.
And you sold it for 3650 based off of injury news. Mistake.
I agree. That is a mistake. But do you know what also was a mistake? It was me failing to realize that we also have 2022 predictions to make. But we'll keep those quick, as we like to say here, which then ends up turning into a long time. And then we'll end with the best thing we saw this year.
Okay.
So we got some 2022 predictions here. These will not be long because we have got just a few to do. And I'm just going to go down the list and we're just going to both give our takes here. So, first off, we have got the top player of 2022 card investment wise. I don't know if Nate wrote it down for that, but that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're up, bro.
Oh, I'm going. Luis Robert. I just covered him. You know why I like him. I wanted to go with Wander Franco, but he's already expensive. Luis Robert has lost some market value because of injury and just people not being too interested when he came back. But I think if he plays like he did at the end of last year to begin next year, his market is going to explode. And he's going to cement himself in the Wander Franco, Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, and Fernando Tatis Flag Guerrero Jr. conversation. But he's not there yet, so therefore, Luis Robert is my guy.
Got you. I've got Kylian Mbappe, one of the top players in the world, very young. We got Champions League coming up, playing on PSG right now. He's going to make a transfer probably to Real Madrid, which is if he can get there and be a mega star at one of the most popular and valuable clubs in the world. A lot of people, talk about the Premier League, but the two most valuable clubs in the world are really Real Madrid and Barcelona. That's at least the last numbers I saw. And if he can do that, I mean, he's going to be right up there with one of the greatest of all time by the end of his run with Real Madrid. And on top of that, the 2022 World Cup, where he's trying to go back to back from when he is 18 years old and won it with France. Now he's 20, just turned 23, and playing in November in the World Cup. So that's where I'm looking at Kylian Mbappe. I do have multiple Kylian Mbappe cards for the exact reason, just so people know. But I'm a big fan of him this year. I can't wait to see what he does, and hopefully, I don't know, back-to-back World Cups would be insane at that age.
There you go.
Next up, we've got the top non-sport investment
Top sport
area.
or non-sport?
What?
Top sport or top non-sport?
Oh, you're right. Top sport of 2022. My bad.
My top sport of 2022, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is soccer. It's obviously been trending in the right direction for years, and I think it will, as people are kind of like trending down on basketball and trending down on football and baseball, I think they're going to be trending up on soccer. More and more people are going to get into the idea of having a Premier League team or whatever the Spanish
La
league,
Liga.
La Liga is, or an Italian league team, as more people get into it, I think more people are going to get into the cards. Whereas I think for the most part, if you're American, you're either already in baseball, basketball, and football, or you aren't. And there's no real like getting into it at this point if you aren't already into it. But I think soccer people will be a little bit more open minded, as I am as an Arsenal fan, number 4 in the Premier League. No big deal.
Not to mention how the youth is building in soccer in America too. I mean, there's so much more investment going into youth soccer now than there was years ago, especially because of the whole concussion deal with football and injuries and such like that. Obviously, injuries can happen in soccer too, but that is a real thing. And I also have soccer, but that's pretty obvious. I think a lot of people listening would probably expect me to say that. World Cup at the end of the year. Now, I want to make it clear that, and everyone says World Cup end of the year, buy soccer. I very much so am under the belief that the worst time to sell your soccer cards is going to be right before the World Cup. Now, keep in mind, there's certain players that are going to build legacies and add to the history of the World Cup, add to the history of themselves, their national teams, whatever it is. And I'm sure they're going to go up in value during the World Cup or after they win. If France wins and Mbappe's got like, I don't know, 8 goals or something throughout the tournament, which would be insane, I'm sure his cards are going to go up in value throughout the tournament. But for a large majority, the majority of the market is probably going to like peak. I literally am thinking in like June. World Cup comes in November. I could see like the most spent money coming in like June and July for those people that knew it was coming, but was like, oh, I didn't get my money into it yet, so let me put it into it. I would say my like investments in soccer cards are pretty centralized. I've got my Mason Mount collection, I've got my Mbappe's, I've got my Messi patch auto, and I've got a couple Erling Haalands, and then just a couple of random cards along the way, Jadon Sancho, Vinicius Jr., some guys like that. I don't really have like a just super spread thin collection of soccer cards. So I probably won't be like really selling like a whole lot like throughout the World Cup just because it's a few guys. What's going to be is if Mbappe Blue Refractor 9.5 hits like an all-time high of 15K, then yeah, I'm probably going to sell it at that, and that's not because I don't believe in him for the next 10 years. I do. It's just like, that's such a good sale. I'm just saying, be careful on how long you hold it. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are probably like not super into it or haven't been for the last few years. Or 10 years if you're like a super diehard, because I'm going to say it, like I was into it for like 2.5 years now. I'm not like one of those people who have been in it for 10 years, but 2.5 years is a long, long time in the soccer card market at this point. A lot of people are going to just be in this to make money and sell out and not watch until 2026. So just be careful with how you strategize what you're doing with your soccer cards. That's all I got to say. Next up, we've got the top non-sport of 2022. And Nate's got, I guess, a funny thing to say here. Nate, say it because you're so funny.
My top non-sport was Chelsea Football Club. They're trash. They don't even deserve to play a sport. They're currently second or third in the Premier League, but we're coming for them. Arsenal's coming for them. It is going to be a happy day in the Rodbot household when I get to call Aaron and mock him for being a trash team. So looking forward to that, but also top non-sport realistically is Star Wars. We're about to be inundated with a bunch of Star Wars stuff this next year. Now, that's no different than Marvel. We get a ton of Marvel stuff all the time and shows. I think the difference here for Star Wars is that we are going to get big names back. So Obi-Wan is coming back with Ewan McGregor. We're going to be seeing Darth Maul again. We're going to be seeing Hayden Christensen with Darth Vader again. We're seeing Boba Fett at the end of this year. First episode of Book of Boba Fett came out yesterday. You're going to get more Grogu with Ahsoka, presumably, if that comes out this year. I don't actually know. It might come out in 2023. But there is going to be a ton of Star Wars and a ton of key characters from people's childhoods or, teens or whatever in the early 2000s coming back and making appearances on the TV. And I think that is going to blow up the Star Wars market.
I'm going to first off ignore Nate's first comment and move on to my non-sport of 2022. This could be very wrong. We could be sitting here 6 months from now and people are going to be like, Aaron, you're an idiot. I'm going to stick with the Marvel PMGs. And I'm not saying that Spider-Man that sold for 72K is next going to sell for 150 in 7 months or something, because it's not. I bet you that the next time that Spider-Man sells, which is going to be pretty soon because there's like 6 or 7 or 8 PSA 9s out there, someone's going to see that thing went from $1,000 to 72 grand. The next one's probably going to sell for like 55. And then below that, if another one sells, it's going to be like 40. But every single person that's going to sell it, unless they bought the previous copy, is going to make a ton of money on it. So they're not going to be upset about it. Nate, I don't know about you, but if you were holding a PSA 9 and yours sold for 55, would you be mad it didn't sell for 72 like Dave's?
I'd be happy if it sold for 2. If I bought it for 1,000.
Exactly. So, and I guess I'm very confident in that. I can't guarantee it because you can't guarantee anything in the sports car marketplace. I'm not trying to put like a guarantee. I will never guarantee something sitting here. I'm always going to say, not guaranteed, just what I think. I could reasonably see that happening. But I think like spread throughout all the different Marvel PMGs from the different years, depending on which characters are getting new movies, which characters are getting hyped up, this and that, which card copies are good grades. I do see the precious metal gems in general being such a sought after thing because there's so few things actually get PMGs these days. We haven't had basketball PMGs since the retro sets from Upper Deck, which were like college jersey and high school jersey cards of LeBron, which were made after the 97 set from Metal Universe that has the most coveted like Jordan non-auto of all time. So I think anything that has that has the potential to be huge in 2022. Now, of course, don't just buy any one that you see and just hope that's going to grow in value. You got to do your research and figure out if the thing's 10x in price, if it's going to drop in price from here, if it's going to grade well. Like there's so much to be known, but I think that there's going to keep on building as Marvel's popularity keeps on growing, given that they've released the highest grossing box office movies of all time with Endgame and now Spider-Man. And particularly Ivan Miles Morales PMG from 2017, which I'm hoping Into the Spider-Verse #2 that comes out in October is going to be big for that card because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't wait for #2. And I will add on top of that, I did recently pick up some hockey PMGs of some of the top players because of that very reason. I think it can spread to hockey too. I don't want people to like think that I'm trying to hype that and then the cards go up in value. I'm just trying to be honest. I did pick up some for that exact same reason as well. And I'm excited about the PMG effect because I think that they are some of the best produced cards of all time, dating back to that Metal Universe set. Now, there is a new 2021 or 2022 like Skybox set that's being produced that has no licensing, but is going to have PMGs, I believe, of like LeBron and like potentially like streetwear. So I'm going to be very intrigued to see what these things sell for when they come out of the gate because it is going to be another PMG set with not hockey or Marvel cards. So we'll see. That's gonna be interesting.
For being quick hitters, you're not very quick.
I'm so long-winded. It's terrible. Sorry, everyone. I just love talking about cards. It's hard to not, especially in a year in review episode. I mean, I knew this was gonna be a long one when we set out for it.
Nerd.
Yeah, I can say it right back to you too. So watch what you're saying. Just kidding. I love being a card nerd. I don't care. I'll own it. I'll own it always.
You can't say 4 eyes to me like I can say to you. So.
I don't care. I like my glasses. So screw you. Doesn't work once you're like over like 10 years old.
That's true.
Top set of 2022. We don't have to be long-winded with this one.
Top set or top set?
The top card set of 2022.
I'm just kidding. Mine is going to be 2022 MLB Topps Chrome Sapphire for one reason and one reason only: Wander Franco.
Nice.
That's all I got. That's my top set. Wander Franco, Topps Chrome Sapphire is like a match made in heaven, especially if it's the blue sapphire look on the Rays blue jersey. Excelente.
Nate, I'm going to go out here and say that you're going to rip a lot of 2022 Topps Chrome Sapphire for us on our breaks this year. And if you hit that Pat Pradasha Wander Franco 101,
I'm
that'd
quitting
be insane.
and stealing it.
Nate's quitting SlabStox, quitting being on the internet, switching his name, moving to Europe, and taking his Wander Franco with him.
Yep. And never selling it because how do you sell something that's serial numbered 1 out of 1?
Exactly.
They'd find you.
My top set of 2022. Panini, please listen to this episode. Please make this set. I don't even know if it's going to be a set. 2022 National Treasures World Cup Soccer. I'm dying, absolutely dying for another release of National Treasure Soccer. It hasn't been released as a full set since 2018 One of my favorite soccer cards of all time I've had. I don't have it anymore. It's the Mbappe Gold Rookie numbered out of 10, BGS 9. Oh my gosh, what do I do to have that card right now? But I really hope that they come out with a 2022 NT full set because they put National Treasures insert cards into Chronicles this year, but they were like sticker autos and like just jersey cards, and I'm not about any of that. I want a full 2022 NT with on-card autos of the GOATs, and maybe if they can get Mbappe to sign somehow, that'd be insane. Or another Eminence set, one of the two. Please, Panini, come through, do it for me, and do it for the soccer community.
There
That'd be
you go.
crazy. Nate, top show destination of 2022.
Now there are a lot of show places that I would like to go. Vegas will be cool. Miami's always nice. Tampa would be nice. Dallas again would be nice. Maybe like San Diego would be cool, or Seattle, or Boston, New York. Like there's so many sweet places you could go in this world, and yet somehow, some way, because of the national, Atlantic City of all places is the top destination for 2022. A real major underdog story, like the Kurt Warner movie. That's Atlantic City right now. Like, there's so many places I would love to go from like a city standpoint, and yet the one I'm looking forward to the most is Atlantic City.
That is something else because I also have Atlantic City pegged, but it does nothing to do with the words Atlantic City. It's everything to do with the words the National. And that just shows you how important the National is because you could put a show in the best place in America and it will not draw the attendance nor the allure of the National in Atlantic City. So what I'm not looking forward to is making a drive out to Atlantic City versus driving down to Chicago an hour down the road. But
Yeah, that's true.
I'm very excited to see what it's like because I've heard mixed reviews and I've actually heard from some people that it's an incredible show. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think we've got a hotel on like the boardwalk or something, and you can like walk down to the show. So we'll see what it's like. Could be
Cool.
cool. Let's not knock it until we try it, right, Nate?
That's right. That's
We'll
right.
see. Next one I've got here's top card shop of 2022, but we have got a lot of friends like Nate put. So Nate, let's just start throwing out some names, and there's obviously many others out there.
Okay. Well, starters, Brewtown. Worked there for like 6 months of my life in 2 different steps, and those are my guys. So Brewtown is number 1 for me.
Greenfield, Wisconsin.
Greenfield, Wisconsin.
There's just a multitude of other names too I just want to throw out there because I think to be a shop owner, it takes a lot of hustle, a lot of hard work, and a lot of determination. And Ryan, Card Collector 2 in Columbus, I want to make a trip down to him soon here. Of course, Jameel down at the Mealy Pop Shop in Gainesville. Dude's one of the hardest workers I know. Jimmy, Kentucky Basketball Cards over at the Kentucky Road Show in Lexington, Kentucky, also opening, the Dallas Road or the Texas Road Show, California Road Show, and New York Road Show, I think all in 2022, or some already might be open. And then also Anthony at Cards and Culture down in Louisiana. Anthony was a great guy who used to play for the White Sox that we met at the National, and he's a very cool guy. Opened a cool shop in Louisiana, and there's just so many more people out there that have shops and open shops and are trying to do their best to connect people to cards. And I give props to all of them because I know it's a hard thing to do, and big props to everyone.
There's actually a card shop that just opened in my neck of the woods, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, called For the Hobby, opened up by Jordan Hagerdon, or Dorn. I'm not 100% sure how to say his last name. But he just opened a card shop in Eau Claire in one of the quote unquote rougher neighborhoods of Eau Claire where he grew up, because he loves the area and he loves the place. He could have lived anywhere. He's lived in New York. He's lived multiple places, but he came home to Eau Claire and opened up a card shop here when he could have done it anywhere. So props to him, because a lot of people might move to greener pastures, but he's trying to make it work in a city of, 60,000 with another 30, 40,000 people in the surrounding area. This isn't, Milwaukee with, 2 million people to choose from. Or Minneapolis with 4 million people, or New York with 20 million people. It's Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So props to him, and props to the For the Hobby card shop.
Also, shout out to Tampa Card Shop with Bryant and Matt, and then Anna, who helps out there a lot. Miss Sports Cards, great people. Run into them at nearly every single show I go to. So just want to give a shout out to them too, because they just opened their shop second half of this year.
Nice. I did not know that.
All right, we have something here that says what happens to the junk slabs, And this, we don't need to, we already talked a lot about these types of cards, but Nate, just what happens to them in 2022?
I think tens will be movable depending on player performance, and I'm thinking like junk slabs, not like John Morant. I mean, I guess you could consider John Morant Zion junk slab base cards, but like
Were you talking about Kyle Lewis PSA 10? That's like $20 right now.
I'm thinking Kyle Lewis PSA 10. It's like 12, or Gavin Lux, something like that. I think a PSA 10 of them could move some. You know, it could move up to $20 if they play well. I don't think it's going to move much past that. But if you buy it at 12, you sell for 20, you're good. I don't think PSA 9s are going to be movable of guys like that. No matter how well Gavin Lux does, you pay $5 for a PSA 9 right now. I think you're still paying $5 for PSA 9 no matter how well he plays.
I 100% echo what Nate says, and I'll also add in that there is an opportunity to be a budget card buyer and seller. There always has been, there always will be, because there's always going to be different things to buy. What it is, who knows? But like, you know, we've seen certain cards go from that 20 to 30, 20 to 40. If it's a PSA 10 that hit a low, there's still going to be a point to where these cards hit a low once the amount, that come back from grading are ready to be sold. And whenever that point is, I mean, you can definitely go from, how many times we've seen a card, Nate, go from $5 to $10 or 10 to 20, like you just said.
Oh
And it's
yeah,
possible.
it
You
is.
know,
And
many,
if you quadruple up, you spend $20, but on 4 cards the same guy, and he does well, and you make $20. There's no shame in that.
yep. And that's what it used to be like over a year in the hobby. It would take a long time to make money. It would take a
I
long time.
remember when we started our buying Bowman Chromes, if we bought an auto for $20 and it hit 30, $28 by the end of the year, we were ecstatic.
Because it shows that there's movement. It shows that people want to pay more, you know, and that's what was the exciting thing. It wasn't going from 20 to 100. That used to be nearly impossible. That was like Pete Alonso, Nate. Remember when Pete Alonso went from like 20 to 100, and it was like, this is insane.
Yeah, and I was losing my mind because Fernando Tatis was still sitting at 20.
Yeah, well, not for Bowman Chrome Auto, but that's
Well,
why I
that's
signed up for.
oh,
I'm
I get you. I
taking
get
way
you. I get
back
you. I
when,
get you.
like I'm saying,
Way,
like,
way, way.
yeah, like way
2016.
back when.
Well, 2017, maybe 2018.
Yeah, like when we really first started in 2018. Well, first started doing SlabStox, and the last thing I'd say is just the people you don't want to be at the junk slabs are the ones that bought really high, or the ones that are getting them back from grading, like Nate. And if you're not in that boat, you're good. If you are in that boat, you're still good, because you can still sell those cards and buy other cards and make more money, and collect other cards and be excited about the hobby. It does not mean that the hobby's dead. It doesn't mean that your hobby journey is dead. It's a bump in the road. We all have them
It's
multiple
true.
ways throughout the journey.
And I would like to point out that Aaron has brought up my PSA submission coming back multiple times, but he fails to bring back his PSA submission that is also coming back with also
I
rough cards in it.
I brought it up in different episodes, but yes, I do have like 150 Pokemon cards out there, many of which are going to be selling for like $5 to $10. But there are going to be ones that are going to be selling for like 100, which I'll take. I'll take that. So that'd be cool. Last thing for 2022 predictions, Nate, what are you looking forward to the most in 2022?
Um, Hitting up more shows. I think we got the Vegas show coming up. I'm excited for that. We've got the National, but I think maybe we should. And you're going to England. Trying to hit up more shows that we don't normally go to. Like we get to Florida a lot. We get to Dallas, but maybe we should try to hit up. I'm looking forward to trying to hit up something in I don't know, New York or Boston or Washington or Idaho, or I don't care. Somewhere different.
Yeah, no, that is fair. And Boston, I know they actually have their first show like at the beginning of the year, which we won't be able to make it to, but maybe sometime in 2022. But yeah, more cool areas. I mean, it's cool to be able to travel and to see new places in America because of cards. I've never been to, that area of downtown Tampa before, or Miami ever before, Vegas ever before, until cards. So it's cool to be able to do that. I'm excited. Atlantic City in 2022. What am I looking forward to the most in 2022? I know Nate didn't ask me, but I'll tell you all anyways.
Oh, my bad.
Um, I just think more people getting excited about what cards are because they want to be in cards. I think we're to the point now that the people who don't really love cards aren't probably going to be sticking around. I mean, I think there's probably been a lot of people that over the last 8 months, and how the market has trended and what's hot, what's not. It's probably pushed a lot of people out there who are in it for a quick dollar.
You remember how many
And
people we used to see that were big into cards, constantly posting all the time, and now where are they?
Crickets, yeah. I
I don't
mean,
see their Instagram accounts posting anything at all.
yeah. So it's very clear that happened. It's clear that was going to happen. It's just a matter of when. But here's the thing though, like we say that, but there's a lot of amazing people out there, and a lot of people still collecting and buying and selling and grading and going to show. Like there's just so much to be excited about. That those people who came in and try to make a little bit of money here and then just leave and go on to the next thing.
NFTs, cryptocurrencies,
Yeah, which
whatever's
there's
after those 2.
people, and I don't want to just I didn't say the specific ones for a reason. I know there's people who still love cards and will go on to the next thing, but also stay in cards, which is why I didn't want to bring it up because you got guys like Summertime Cards Anthony who is it mixed
That
into
that
everything.
that is that is very fair, and probably spoke out of turn. I don't wanna single anybody out. You can be in NFTs and cryptocurrencies and cards all at the same time, but I have certain people I was thinking of in my head that were like, "Cards, cards, cards," and all of a sudden, "Crypto, crypto, crypto," and then "NFTs, NFTs, NFTs," and, it'll be the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next
That
thing, but
that
there's plenty of guys who love all 3,
Yep.
and that is perfectly fine.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Nate, I was thinking the same thing too. So we're both on the same page there. But that's what I'm looking forward to. Just more of the awesome vibes around cards because it's what I love. It's what I've done my whole life, and I'm super excited being here for another year in 2022. In the way, as long as Nate doesn't have anything else to add, do you have anything else to add?
Mm.
All right, the way I want to end this episode, and I know that we're at like an hour and a half now, which is okay because it's our year in review. Is the best thing I saw in 2021. Um, this was a pretty incredible moment. If anyone knows the person by the name of, I know his first name's Mason on Instagram. I'm going to get the last name here. I know it starts with an F. I just know I can't pronounce it correctly. Mason Ferrulli 23. That's FERRULLI 23. I'll have it on the screen here on Instagram. Right in the bio of his Instagram story, or his Instagram page, I'm just gonna read it off here. 3-time ependymoma brain cancer, that I pronounced that wrong too, and 1-time spine cancer survivor, never give
Oh,
up. What do you say?
I said, "Oh."
Yeah, it's just not something you want to go through. And this kid's always out here, fighting and everything. And it's just amazing to see. And this year, him and his dad were opening a box of, I think it was Definitive Baseball. And he pulled an Aaron Judge logo patch, one of one. And it was one of the craziest videos I've seen. Like, just like you literally would start crying watching it if you love cards enough and love kids enough and want to make sure that, people are, getting what they deserve in life. And it's just so cool to see that in his moment with his dad. And I urge you to go watch the video. It's got like 80,000 views on his Instagram page. It's not like that went through like a Bleacher Report and got 80,000 views. Like, it's that many people migrated his Instagram page to watch it because it was that amazing a video. And next thing you know, he's meeting Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge is taking pictures with him. And it's just so cool to see how something like cards can make this many people excited about something for someone who they don't even know, us included too. I mean, I've never been that excited to see someone else like pull something like that. And it was just such a moment. And, Mason, we're here for you, the entire SlabStox team. I know that the fight's been probably long and it's difficult, and we hope you keep fighting and keep improving and pull through. But it's been really fun to just see how many people have supported Mason throughout this, and it's definitely the best thing I saw this year in cards for sure. And I echo that off of someone this morning that commented on our Instagram post about their best card memory from this year and said that too, and that really got me thinking. I agree with that.
I agree too. That's not everyone has the same draw in life, and sometimes you just gotta realize that and buckle down and keep going anyways. So
Yeah, pretty incredible. So that's all we got. That's all we got. This was the year in 2021 weekly slab episode. Guys, every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Central time, this episode will be dropping on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcast. And this is a thank you from all of us. Nate can say his thanks too, but for all the support in 2021, it was definitely one of the most interesting years of my life and one of the most exciting years of my life for multiple different reasons. There were a lot of challenges that we faced along the way, many of which, not the everyday follower of SlabStox wouldn't really see. But we've got a lot of exciting things to come in 2022, and I urge you to follow us at SlabStox on Instagram for a really amazing announcement coming at the beginning of the year, which is a little bit in the making here, but I'm very excited about it. And just more great things to come from us, and we'll keep doing everything we can to bring free content and support the community as much as possible. That's what our passion is to make sports cards accessible to everyone, and we just want to make sure that people are enjoying it for what it is, and we'll do our best to do that.
Couldn't say it better myself. I had a great year. Got married. Went to some card shows. Um, got to go to some. I got to go to a Brewers game for the first time in like 2 years, which was really fun. Bucks won the championship, so a great year for me. Maybe a little bit better than Aaron's, I suppose, but very excited, very excited to see just my personal life, Aaron's personal life, and then also our SlabStox lives, how they are going to go forward in 2022. Some very exciting things, and also a lot of that has to do with everyone watching this, because if people didn't reach out and talk to us, and it was just talking into a void constantly, there would be no enjoyment in this.
No.
No enjoyment at all. It's getting to meet the Tony Harleys of the world, or the top 10 Tonys, or seeing the card collector twos in real life, or anything like that. That is makes this worth it. And so, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you, and I hope you all have a good 2022 and end of 2021
for sure. And Nate, that is awesome being as winning, first of all, but also, yeah, challenges arise throughout people's lives throughout the year. But I will say this is that the end of 2021 has been awesome, amazing, and it couldn't make me more excited for 2022. And I've learned a lot this year, and excited for all fronts, SlabStox wise, personal wise, and it's gonna be a great 2022, I think. So I'm just excited to get there and see what it brings.
Let's go.
Yeah, fire up, everyone, fire up.
Let's go. So I hope everyone else has a good 2022 also. And more importantly, a very good end of 2021. Don't do anything stupid.
As I
say,
safe
drinking and driving on the 31st at midnight or anything like that. Get home safe and start 2022 with a bang.
Absolutely. Can't say that one better myself either. So thank you everyone for watching. This year in review episode is the weekly episode number 4. And we will see you all next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time for another edition of the Weekly Slab.
See you guys.